of mine. Beautiful, beautiful thing. I was hoping you'd get there, brother. I was hoping that was coming around the bend. You guys tired yet?
No.
Now you're a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
How many of you do those little those camp songs help you? Those real energetic. Hey, what was that bird? What is that bird? Can you say it without saying it? What's that bird called?
Clang, clang, foo, foo,
Do you have English? Habla English? Iti. Now it applies to my message thing. The end of my message, right at the end, right at that part where I'm getting done with a funny story, right before I rip your faces off, right in the sweet spot, there's a song in the scriptures. Now, it's a long song, and you're never going to sing it on a Wednesday night at church, mind you, but it's a song. It says it's a song right there, and so we're going to take the end of it. We might stop right in the middle, have a little fun, and see if we can do a little repeat, get a little song going from it, because I mean, because I'm prejudiced, it's my favorite song in the whole scripture. But I don't want to ruin it. I'm not going to ruin it. You're going to have to wait for it, right? But just know a big musical finale is coming, all right? I don't want to mirror the world, but that's how the world does it. They ramp up to a big musical number, song, dance. What's the other one you sang, Brother Dave? The one with where you're, accosting children. What was that called? Yeah, Magnify the Lord. I love that part of the beginning where Brother Dave just goes. I just want to get a straight shot of that with no context, slow motion, and it's gonna be a video background on my phone. All the time. Loved it. It was great. Those songs helped me, all right? Singing in your hearts with psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, and then right there in the original Greek, and camp songs. Right there. Because I don't think they're particularly spiritual or psalmish or hymnish, but they're in there, right? All right, let's turn in our Bible to Judges chapter 4. Judges chapter 4. Oh, you know what? Hold your place in Judges chapter 4. I want to start over in 1 Corinthians chapter 16. 1 Corinthians 16. There's a small command given in the middle of this chapter. He covers a lot of ground in this chapter, but he just makes this quick statement, and it has a terminology in there that I'm not used to, okay? He uses this word in a way I'm not used to hearing it. And this is one of those verses. There's a few verses in the Bible that I really genuinely wish I could take out of context, because they would be great, just wonderful additions to my daily spiritual walk. This is one of them. There's some I wish I could get rid of altogether. Me and my teen group, we agree. We just went full down the path of heathenism, and we just got rid of one verse in the Bible. And that's right there. I believe it's in James. It's the verse that says, "He that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin." Right? The context of that verse is that he's telling them that essentially the concept is go to now. How many of you are procrastinators? Yeah. Yeah. Don't read that verse. That's the whole concept. Hey, you guys, I wish you could see that joke from my angle. That landed, brother. All right, that was great. He came in about 40 seconds too late on the procrastinating hand raise. You'll get that when you're older. You'll get that when you're older. I have that shirt, procrastinators unite. And then it's tomorrow, right? That's just the way it is, right? Go to now, and it has this illustration of how dare you say you go sell your goods tomorrow when you could sell your goods today? And basically you're playing God, and you do not have tomorrow. You cannot promise tomorrow. If you know there's something you're supposed to do it now. So I'll read that verse tomorrow and apply it later, okay? No problem. That's a tomorrow kind of verse I've ever read one. Right? This is one of those verses that I wish I could just take it a little bit out of context, right? So let's read it. 1 Corinthians 16:13. Watch ye. Stand fast in the faith, quit you like men, be strong. Yeah. Make like a man and quit. I got it. Hey, we've all had this conversation. I remember I was probably about 13 years old. I sat out with my mom. I had a little heart-to-heart with my mom. Right? I'd gone to my dad to make sure that he was on my side of his thing, right? And he'd heard me. He'd heard me practice the piano. He knew there was no hope, right? And so I was like, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. Son, I don't want you to do this anymore. This is miserable. You have to move out or quit piano. I'm going to talk to Mom. Mom wants me to play piano. Mom wants to play piano. Yeah, I know what your mother wants, but I know what my ears want. Go talk to your mother. So I go and sit down with my mother. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to play piano. And she said, you guys will appreciate this. She goes, I thought you wanted to play the piano and sing and preach like your Uncle Mark. I was like, that guy? Please! Set your bar a little higher, Mom. Come on. I was like, no, Mom, I just don't think it's for me. And I don't know if it's just a mother's love or by what filter you've been listening to what's been happening. Everyone on the block knows it's not for me. Because they might not be able to hear the piano, but they hear the crying and wailing and gnashing of teeth that it creates. And, and so that's what I'm thinking. Mom, sometimes men just quit. It's just the way it is. How many of you are hikers? Yeah. If you want to see someone quit like a man, invite me. Yeah. My favorite, I'm not joking, my favorite hike, I am not kidding, my favorite hike. How many of you have ever been to Homer? Homer, Alaska. It is, if you've not gone, it is beautiful. It was similar when that crazy curvy road that made my kids puke all over the back of my car. Coming into here, right? There's a moment where you kind of turn and you're up above, like and it's just like, whoa. And you get to see, you just see forever. And it's just like this beautiful, but it's like green, it's luscious, and there's a river. And that's beautiful here. When Homer is very similar, how many of you have ever been to Seward, Alaska? See, Seward's beautiful, but you come into Seward at the bottom, right? And it's got its own little effect to it. You're kind of covered in mountains all around. You're in this bowl, and you're like, wow, that's really impressive. Homer's the exact opposite. You come in really tall, really high. You just get to look out over the ocean. It's just like, whoa, that is so cool. In Homer, Alaska, Halibut capital of the world, most beautiful place. You can drive up and you can park by the visitor center, okay? And there is, at max, an 1/8 of a mile trail through the woods. Beautiful little walk. Groomed trail, partially paved. There's a little bit of a marshy part. Don't worry, they put a boardwalk over that because we're not animals, right? And just take a guess. What is at the end of that trail? Huh? What? We got to be more specific than that. What do you think?
McDonald's.
McDonald's? No. Ice cream? Not quite.
Snack machine.
No, see, it's a little more nuanced than that. It is a bakery. We're talking cinnamon rolls. We're talking like donuts the size of your face. We're talking about quiches. We're talking sophisticated stuff. Now. I know what you're thinking. You're doing math in your head. You're like, Caden, I'm looking at you. And I'm running the math. I'm looking at you, and I'm running the math. 1/8 of a mile down, 1/8 of a mile up. That's roughly 1/4 of a mile. You ain't doing 1/4 of a mile. Of course I'm not doing 1/4 of a mile. I'm not a monster. There's a road that connects it. So you start at the top, you walk 1/8 of the mile, you get a donut, your wife pulls the car around, picks you up. You got your one hike for the year, right? You attached your Fitbit to your kids, you just ran 3 miles in the cloud, right? You're golden, okay? Make like a man and quit. Is not what it means, okay? Although I saw some of these guys writing down vigorous notes. They're like, this is it. This is the message I've been waiting for. No. So I had to look it up, right? I had to look it up. You find that, whatever, Webster's 2028, like the old thing, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. I had to find the definition. So I'm going to read you this definition, okay? Of what the quit means here. To carry through, to do or perform something to the end so that nothing remains, to discharge or perform completely. Now, words. Those old guys, they knew how to just drag it out. I'm going to sum it up for you in a few things, okay? Quit you like men. It means to start. It means to fight. It means to finish. It means to do the whole thing, right? Get it done. So really it is. I think you could apply it that way. You quit. Quit when you're finished, right? Quit when you've done the whole thing. I think I might have overheard you talking about your kids and their verbiage when they're talking about their food. And they say things like, can I be full now? So she said, right? Right? Can I now be full? I understand this logic, right? I go in, I bend over, put on my shoes, get all dressed, go to the gym, walk in. Could I be exercised now? Could this be it? You've only exercised if you've exercised. You're only full if you've eaten all the food. I don't like that, right? So yeah, you can quit for the work of God. The moment you die and step into eternity, done, right? As soon as you've done the whole thing, you can be done. Quit you like men. Start, finish, fight, finish. Do the whole thing, all right? Like men. I'm going to be poking on this side of the room a little bit tonight. This kid right here knows. He goes, why is the women verse coming? It's not. Sorry, bud. Quit you like men. Now, there's a lot of stories, and I was going through a lot of them in my head. I was reading some of them. Stories. Biblical illustrations to show you, and mostly you over here, of what it means to be a man. Men who started and fought and finished. Men who chose not to start and got destroyed. Men who start and then chose not to fight when it came time. Men who started, men who fight, and men who just quit and didn't finish. I want to talk to you about a different story. One where he was that close. I mean, we're just like right there at the end. He did so much finishing, he still got counted in the Hall of Faith as a finisher. He just didn't get the fun part. It's one of my favorite stories. Go ahead and turn over to Judges chapter 4. Now, again, I think that some people might be torn on here. Maybe I'm reading this story wrong. I've read it a few times. I read other people's opinion on it. I read it again. I can't read it any other way. Okay? If I'm really, really off on it, feel free to burn me at the stake later. Okay? But don't quit halfway through. You finish that thing. I'm not joking. If any of you ever wake up and you say, I'm killing Caden, don't you dare do it halfway. Oh, I want to go to heaven. I don't want to, I don't want to lose like half of my body, like the right half, right? Walk in a circle my whole life. No! All right, here we go. Judges chapter 4. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. Now, I was going to work through the message at some point. I didn't know how. I didn't really have any reason to work it in. But an entire story is encapsulated in one verse right before this. So let's go ahead and read it just for fun. Chapter 3, verse 31. And after him was Shamgar, son of Anath, which slew the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad. And he also delivered Israel. Hey, sometimes God, when he was writing this Bible, looked at a story and said, I can't not include that one. That's incredible. I think that his story, I think he was so good at what he did that that's why he only got one verse. I think that there was no interesting nuance to it. I think God looked at Shamgar and said, go kill 600 men. He goes, yeah. He just grabbed the nearest thing and took off. God's like, I'm going to provide it to okay. That guy's motivated. He just swing around farm equipment. What are you doing with that? I don't know. God sent me here. And those 600 guys are like, well, your God's stupid. It's like, what'd you say? I just killed 600 men with a chunk of farm equipment. And then delivered his people. Like it was, it was, and he also delivered Israel. He also killed 600 guys. You're like, well, there should have been some other things to learn about that. Like, Shamgar walks in, right? Holding an ox goad. He goes, let my people go. And they say to themselves, who are you? He's like, oh, wait. I thought you might ask this, right? You call your 600 strongest men. And they go, actually, we just got this weird report. Our 600 strongest men are dead. Yeah. He just starts tapping his ox goad on the ground. Where'd they go? Nobody. It's a boring story. Yet the coolest story all at the same time. That guy, start, fight, finish, one verse, done with them. Okay? Just in case you were looking for an illustration of someone who did it right, one verse. I do not want my story to be 2 chapters long. We're about to read one chapter, probably in its entirety, and we're going to go to the fun part of the second chapter, but this guy's story is a little bit longer. Chapter 4. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, when Ehud was dead, and the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harsha, and the Gentiles and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. 20 years! As I established in teen class, I am in my 20s. Right? I'm not old, like the people in their 30s, right? How many of you are close? Are any of you 20? You're back. Are you 20?
In my 20s.
Oh, you're 20. Hey, I'm with you, brother. I might as well be. I'm in my 20s. So, any of you, you're not 20, you almost raised your hand. We did some homeschool math real quick. Like, oh, not quite there yet. Any of you 19? 18? You guys speak this level of numbers? Anyone on the other side? 21? Okay, there you go. And the young man hesitated. Is that me, bro? Is it me? Am I playing some sort of music? It sounds like, they call us a lazy generation. I did not expect the Lord to have to blow the trumpet twice. Those stupid idiots. Hit him again. That's a good one. That's a good one. Now, whatever that is, we'll figure it out. All right? 20 years. Longer than most of you have been alive. A whole generation was in captivity. There were children born who knew nothing but Sisera ruling over them. All right? This guy, this jerk, this evil, evil leader who had 900 chariots of iron. Okay, let's do the math. The last guy we just read about killed 600 people with one sheep stick and took back an entire country. You ever met those people? I don't want to pick on anybody in the room. I'm sorry if it's you, but like they just buy stuff to have stuff. I mean, like so much stuff, right? And there's like, and they're like, hey, me, I got 3 trucks. I just look at them and I'm like, yeah, and you're like, this kid's doing the math. I'm like, how many can you drive at once? Well, just one. I'm like, how do you pick? Well, obviously I'm broke, so 3. So I mostly walk everywhere I go. Right? But like they just own stuff for the sake of owning stuff. Like girls, right? I'm sorry I'm picking on you. That's the only time I'm picking on you the other day. Where like I understand I'm married to a girl, right? And I open the closet, I'm like, what is all this? And then again, she's like, oh, there's my clothes, they're beautiful. And I'm like, how many can you wear at once? She's like, 1? And I'm like, yeah, I can tell you wear 5 over and over again. What do the others do? And they're like, they're just there just in case. Just in case of some sort of fashion-related emergency. You guys, what I'm telling you is yours bad. As what's his name here? Sisera. Okay? 900 chariots of iron. I guarantee you he only needed like 7. Any of you, right? There's this comedian. I don't like this comedian at all. This comedian. Oh no. He's purposefully bad at his job, and that's how he makes a living. Okay? That's funny if you're a comedian. Not so funny if you're a plumber. Right? But he's purposely bad at his job, but he makes his joke about, he's like, if you think that your guns are gonna stop the government, you obviously don't know how tanks work, right? That's the closest thing to a funny joke I've ever heard him make. But seriously, if you think you need 900 chariots of iron, you don't know how chariots of iron work. How many people does it take to stop a chariot of iron? I think you quit counting at some point. Send them back through. Send them back through. We're gonna run out of people. We're doing the scientific research that's necessary. I'm sure he's just one of those guys. He's like, oh, that's really cool, guys. Build me 100 more. For what? Just in case. Just in case an iron chariot related emergency were to come about. I mean, let's do like 100 more. And then they probably ran out of iron. He's like, we're going to have to go tax them. But I have no one who knows how to drive this. Right? This guy's just ridiculous. This is the guy ruling over them. This is the guy who has been enslaving and torturing the children of God. And he's just stupid. Let's keep reading about him.
That sounds fun.
Now, here's what I want you to see too. Let's see, verse 3. The children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron. Lord, have you been doing the math? There's a lot of them. And 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, I don't even call her. Are any of you named Deborah in this room? Any of your mothers named Deborah? I had some Deborah-related jokes. I'm getting bad vibes. A prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth. She judged Israel at the time, and she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah, between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. You kids need to read these stories a little slower. This lady is legit. She has a tree that's hers. I'll tell you how a Deborah gets a tree that's hers. Is that she went and she ruled over the people. And those stupid men who'd been judges in Israel probably walked everywhere, stood out in the sun, stood on a huge pedestal. Yeah, you know, I am the judge of Israel, bring me your complaints. And then the first woman to do it was like, you got a shady tree? Probably set up a little booth. She probably had a whole system. She probably had note cards. She probably knew everyone's name. You probably got a gift when you were done. Like, she was just nice about it. And she's under her tree. And then, you know, one day she came back to the tree and there was someone under her tree. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Just like that lady in church that you know. That's my seat. And you're like, I'm the traveling preacher. I'm here. I didn't know where to sit. Well, it wasn't there. No. And eventually they're like, that's Deborah's tree. Well, can we give someone a tree? What are you going to do? Tell her she can't have the tree? You tell her. I'm not going to tell her. So they put a little sign on it. Please, we're tired of the complaints. We're tired of the murders. Quit sitting in Deborah's tree. I don't know how you get a palm tree. If you want to know how to get a palm tree, write Deborah, okay? She's got it locked in. Now, verse 6, and she sent and called Barak, the son of Abdaman, and of Kadesh and Naphtali, said to him, Hath not the Lord God of Israel? We're going to stop right there. This guy's name is Barak. Dude, do you know what that means? I looked it up. It's in the back of my Bible. I'm not smart or anything. It's right there. It meant thunderous, lightning bolt is what it said. This dude's legit. Barak. For the sake of visualization, because I don't think some of you have as good of imagination as me, we're going to name him Dwayne Barack Johnson. Okay? Dwayne Barack Johnson. Just some 6'7", huge, bald-headed Samoan dude. Ah! I am thunder. I am lightning. You're by my tree. Oh, my bad. My bad. You think I'm joking about that last part? Keep reading. Now, and Deborah calls Barak to, again, I can look at it. Deborah calls Barak to him. Deborah don't go to nobody. Right? Now, and she sent and called Barak, the son of that guy. Hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun. Now, she phrases it as a question. She might have just been phrasing it as a question to sound cool, because obviously she does what she wants to do. No one's telling her what to do. I tend to believe that it seems to be something that should have been known. She says, hey, weren't we supposed to go to battle against the bad guy? Something that you would think Dwayne Brock Johnson would know, right? And I will draw unto thee the river Kishon, Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand, right? Remember, he told us to go to battle. Remember, he said he was going to bring all the chariots there. Remember, he said we were going to murder him with the great murdering, right? That was the plan. And Barak said unto her, Barak said unto her, if thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. I imagine he whispered this. Right? He's sitting there, he's like trying to figure out how to fit underneath. Like, there's not enough shade, right? He doesn't want to burn half his body because the tree's not big enough. Deborah's sitting there with a pen, probably with like one of those flowers, like a girl, right? Taking notes. He's like, hey, I have it down here that God told you to go beat up the bad guys. And he said he was going to do all the work, you just had to show up. He's like, yeah, right. Sure, right. But I'm not going unless you go. Deborah's sitting there under her tree, probably like 140 years old, right? Just like sitting there like, okay. But just go. No, I'm not going unless you come with me. I'm a big guy, but I'm sensitive. Right? Right? Come on. All right. But if thou will not go with me, then I will not go. And 9. And she said, now, I added that ad, but I think that actually how it really went down, she answered him immediately. Right? I'm not going to go unless you go. And she said, I will surely go with you. I'm not scared. You big chicken, right? Hey, and that's what, I'm going to get back to my notes because I wanted to use these later, but I get to have a lot of fun and skip my notes. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, can you look at my notes? And I'm like, I have not looked at my notes in years, so I don't know what me looking at your notes is going to do. Anyway, so I keep going, all right. A champion was needed, all right? All right, okay. How many years did it take for them to realize a champion was needed, right? How many, okay, they've been in 20 years they needed a champion. There's no debating the call. There was an entire generation that had only known slavery and pain and sorrow. Someone needed to fix this. And then a champion was a chicken. Big. I'm not going unless you come. Please, Mom, please. I know adults who still don't like make their own dentist appointments, right? My wife does all that for me now. Sorry. Right? Now. Let's keep reading, okay? She goes, all right, yeah. And she said, yeah, surely, I'll go with you. I'll go with you. Notwithstanding. Now I looked up that word. I tried to get like a written, just make sure I had locked in on what that word meant, okay? Basically it meant, like, nevertheless. Basically it meant, all right, everything you just said and I just said, with that considered, the whole me being like, hey, God told you to do this, you mean all like, I'll do it, but I'm not going to go without you. It means you're like, sure, I'll go. Keeping that in mind, read this next part. Notwithstanding, the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went in Barak to Kadesh. Again, stone cold, she just said that. She didn't tell him what, no one could have guessed what it meant, all right? Unless you really know your Bible, you don't know what's coming. Don't you read ahead. You let me tell you. It's going to be awesome. Okay? And she goes, yeah, I'll go with you. Sure. But you chicken. The main bad guy, yeah, that guy's going to fall to a hand of a woman. All right, let's go. She gets out of her tree, and Brock goes, okay. And he follows. Now we're going to read what Brock does. Brock does pretty good. But just keep that in mind, right? Like, we know... We have some experience in this, okay? How many of you have ever heard of SEAL Team 6? All right, raise your hand. What did SEAL Team 6 do? Someone who knows the answer, confident. What did they do?
Killed Bin Laden.
Oh, yeah, they killed Bin Laden. Yeah, that guy. Oh, that guy. That day, that guy knew. That guy busted down that door, and he's like, he's a SEAL, right? So he's like, a lot of us would be like, oh, we're going to battle. That guy's like, I won't Bin Laden. Oh, buddy. And then the other guys are like, dude, we've been on like 8 missions where Bin Laden's supposed to be there. He's like, I can feel it. I want him, right? Because you ever heard of SEAL Team 5? Nope. Ever heard of SEAL Team 4? Nope. 3, 2, 1, 7, 8, 9, 12, 100, don't matter. I'm sure there's more than 6, but 6 busted down the door and saw him and was like, yes! You know those matching T-shirts we made? Bin Laden killers. You're gonna call SEAL Team 6 with the Ghostbuster logo? What? We were right. Bam! We're like, we're gonna be on the news. We're gonna go be on all the night shows. And I'm sure one of them, who's a Bible believer, was like, let's cut his head off and walk him down. I read it in the book once. It's a good idea. And they're like, yeah. And then they got a radio call. Was like, hey. We're watching the body cams. Don't you put the head down. No, I want to go. No, it's not David Letterman. I don't know who they are. I want to go on Jimmy Kimmel and be like, I got a secret box, right? Live television, be like, watch this. Ah! Everyone knows who SEAL Team 6 is. No one cares. I'm sure there was years, probably decades of intel and snipers on roofs and some nerd with a book writing down and taking pictures and all this different stuff, and they tracked him, and there's some guy who had to listen to hours and have to interpret it from a language he barely spoke. I mean, there was so much work. But only one guy could pull that trigger. And that guy who pulls that trigger was the guy, all right? We all know this to be true. So this quick little thing that Deborah said, like, oh yeah, no problem, I'll go with you. But yeah, the sister's gonna fall to a woman. Now let's go! And Brock's like, but I'm not a woman. And Deborah probably patted his head. You're special. All right? Come on, on, big boy, let's go fight. So they do, right? Now, let's see. Verse 10. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men in his feet, and Deborah went up with him. Now Heber and Kenite, which was of the children of Hoab, the father-in-law of Moses, had served himself in the Kenites, and pitched his tent in the plain of Zanalamah, which is by Kadesh. And they showed Sisera, and Barak the son of Abinadab was gone up to Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron. Okay, so don't you think I'm making stuff up. Okay? God, in his infinite wisdom, was reading this story off, preserving the history for you, and worded it like this. He goes, and Sisera gathered together all his chariots. Even 900 of them. God's looking at them and be like, dude, they don't even fit in the valley. Half of them you're pulling behind other ones. You don't have 900 guys in on chariots. They can't turn worth anything. They're solid iron. Heaven forbid to get a little, if it rains, they're all going to sink into the mud. Even 900 of them, all right? Chariots iron. And all the people that were with him from the Gentiles of the river of Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, up! That brother was lame. I'm not a fan of this guy. Not a fan of the real Dwayne Barak Johnson. Not a huge fan of Dwayne Barak Johnson. Huge fan of Team Deborah. All right, now, for this is the day in which the Lord hath delivered Sisera into thine hand. It is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. And the Lord discomforted Sisera. I know that word is probably like a really deep word. It has to be, you know, but like you said, like how you feel. Like, I'm still uncomfortable. You know, and like, I don't think that's how it went, but I'm preaching. So, all right. So, you know, like Dwayne Brock's up there, like, all right, boys, we're going to go fight him. And they're sitting there like, those are 900 chariots of iron. I've got a stick. Right? And I'm sure there's two guys in the back goofing off, being like, oh, I'm shame God. No, I want to be shame God. Right? No, I'm shame God, right? Quick, enough! Deborah, get him, right? We're moving out, we're going to kill him. How are we going to kill him, right? Now, I don't think it really tells us exactly how they killed them. It just says what happened there, right? Chariots on his host with the edge of the sword. And Barak said, Sisera lighted down off his chariots and fled away on his feet, okay? He ran away on his feet. And he just said they were discomforted. I don't know what happened. There's a huge, can you imagine watching that movie? This is the movie we just watched. 10,000 guys up on the hill. 9,000 or 900 armored tanks down on the hill. And then it's just like, you just flash forward and they're standing on top of the tanks being like, that was awesome. Yeah, that was really cool. There's one guy's trucking off into the distance. 110 miles an hour on his bare feet. Ah! What happened? How did we get there? I think the guy just made him a little itchy. They're discomforted. Some people look at me like, wait a minute, like, all right, like, drive the chariots and kill them. I can't, I itch. They start taking off their armor. I'm itchy. They go through, the first guy just gets slaughtered, and they're like, what are they doing? They look like they're itching. And even Dwayne Brock Johnson was stupid enough to be like, well, don't ask them, or heaven forbid, give them any preparation H. Just start killing. And they killed all of them because they were uncomfortable. I don't know, God works in mysterious ways. But Sisera just takes off running 110 miles an hour. He's like, whoa! I don't know if he forgot how to drive. I don't know if his horses were discomforted. I don't know if he realized that he can't turn around 180 degrees, takes 3 days, right? Or whatever it was. But he just takes off running barefooted. Now again, I might be reading into things maybe just a little bit. But verse 16, but Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host, under the Harusheth and the Gentiles, and all the hosts of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. Albeit Sisera fell away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazar, and the house of Heber. Now, I want you to remember some things here, but here we go. Sisera fled away on his feet, ended up, where there was peace between Jabin and the thing is said, Jael, 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 whatever it is, Jael, right? Verse 18, and Jael went out to meet Sisera, and said unto him, turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not. And when he had turned in unto her in the tent, she covered him with a mantle. And he said unto her, give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And he just ran. I don't know how far he ran. How many of you ever played like since you've been older, played like a legit game of hide and seek? Like big time, bro. I love a good game of hide and seek. Because when you're as wide as you are tall, like I am, they don't think you can hide anywhere. And then I'm just like Spider-Man up in the walls. I'm like, coming for you, dude. I killed 3 of them. They don't even know yet. And they still think we're playing hide and seek, and I'm playing Predator. Right? Right? It's just one of those things. And you're looking at it, and there's that moment where like you found a really good hiding spot, and you realize like you're breathing too much. And you're like, no, you can't quit breathing. You're too loud.
Yeah.
I can do it. You like try some sort of Jedi mind trick. You're like, so Jail's like, oh, brother, you've been running a while. Come on here. I'll keep you safe. No problem, right? And he's just dumb enough to trust a woman. Anyway. I'm preaching to them. You take your legs in and you get them. Right now, you're in. And she hides them under the mantle, puts them under the rug, puts them under the... And he should have known something suspicious because I'm sure he's in the... There's just this rug like... What is that? It's like, oh, it's just like... Like, you know, it's just like a normal thing. Nothing weird going on here. So yeah, she's hiding and he's like, I just have some water. Like, that's going to help, right? Like, that's going to quit me from breathing. So just give me a little bit of water now. You know, and it's just one of those things. Can I have a little water? So I'm thirsty. And she opened up a bottle of milk and gave him a drink and covered him, right? I mean, I don't even really have anything funny to say about that. I don't. Spoiler alert, guys. The children of Israel have a better sense of humor than me, okay? It's coming. Just wait. He gave her some milk, right? And I mean, I don't know who this guy is, but the guy who owns 900 chariots, I'm imagining be like, I don't want milk. I asked for water. This is the worst service I've ever gotten, right? Anyways, and gave him drink and covered him, right? Again he said unto her, stand at the door of the tent, and it shall be when any man doth come and inquire thee, and say, is there any man here? Thou shalt say, no. I do not like this guy. You know, there's a term, I don't really care for the term, because I mean, you do what you gotta do sometimes, but it's called mansplaining, right? I'm familiar with mansplaining. It's when men explain to women and we talk like you don't know anything, right? Okay, that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes you don't know anything. But it is one of those things, right? Sometimes the worst thing that happens is when you just assume we know something, but we talk for like 30 minutes. I'm like, she just look away, I'd Google this real quick. You know what I'm saying, right? Think about mansplaining. He goes under the mantle, right? He goes under the mantle. He's sitting there, he's drinking his milk. Right? And he goes, oh, just in case you didn't know, you're going to stand at the door, and if they say, hey, is that guy we were chasing in here? You tell them, no. Good plan. Oh, go me. And he laid it down, right? So stupid. She's the one invited. How dumb is this guy, right? Like, just in case you didn't know the plan, you're going to tell them no. Can you imagine what if he wouldn't have said that? And they would have ran up, and she'd have been like, you know, is there anyone, you're hiding any fugitive in your tents? Oh, yes, he's right there. Oh! No, I meant he's gone away. No, how dumb could she be? No, he's an idiot. Just an idiot. Now, I'm trying to hurry, but it's not working. Okay? Now, and Jael went out to, let's get there, where was I? Verse 20, thou shalt say no, duh. Verse 21, then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent, and took a hammer in her hand, and went softly unto him, sneaky, and smote the nail into his temple, and fastened it to the ground.
She nailed it.
For he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. Okay, I don't know which one it is. There's a chance he was so sleepy that she was able to put this nail on the side of his head and then pound it all the way into the ground without him waking up. Maybe the author didn't piece together that after the first pop, there would be no waking up. That's one option. The other option that I like more is that Jael, you know, you think of old school, like, I mean, we're in, you know, those kind of times. She's just all shawled up, right? She's sitting there, she's like, oh, come in here. Yeah, under the mantle, we cover you up. You want some water? All I got is milk. Is that okay? Okay, right, great. Now, and again, I assume she always had this plan. But there's a chance that she was going to help him. And then she walked away, and he stood up and be like, oh, by the way, if you're looking for me, tell them no. She was like, yeah, don't worry about that, buddy. And then he hides back under his rug, little milk mustache, little jerk. And she takes off her robe and just chaps. I mean, just like big, right? And she grabs the hammer, and she grabs the tent stake, big puppy, right? And she walks over and super sneaky. And just in one just bam, whoosh, and he's pegged to the ground, right? And like the sword and the stone, I'm sure Barak later just like, "Ah, how'd you do that?" Built different, right? As we did. So I don't know how she did it. She did it, right? He's fastened to the ground. Now I know some of you reading the story like, I wonder. There's a chance. There's a chance. So just so that you know, the Bible is very clear. So he died. Just in case you weren't sure. Boom! Smashed into the ground. 10 stake through his head. And God's like, I don't want you to misread this, buddy. Keep going. He's dead. So he died. Now, 22. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera. Now, this is why I think Barak was just smart enough to know that he remembers what Deborah said real quick before they got in the chariot and went to war, right? And so I think that probably the children of Israel, the other folks were like, this guy, what is wrong with Barak today? Because Sisera takes off running, and Barak goes right after him, just trucking. He's like, no! And he's like, where's he going? He's going towards a woman. What? What does that mean? You ever sticker in the back? I know what that means. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know what God said. You ain't going to catch him. Barak's like, yes, I am. And Sisera's taking off, and Sisera, he's very fast. I don't know why Sisera was so fast. He got to the tent, he got inside, got staked, and then this happened, right? And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said unto him, come, and I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. Sometimes you just gotta piece things together. Hey, you looking for somebody? No, I'm just going for a jog. I don't know. Yeah. No, I'll show you who it is. Yeah, man who thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples. So God subdued in that day Jabin the king of Canaan before the children of Israel, and the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin the king of Canaan until they had destroyed Jabin the king of Canaan. Now, everyone did their job. Really, like I said, Barak makes it into Hebrew and into Hebrews, and they're talking about him. Like, he was a good guy. Like, he did his job. He really did. But, just a little bit of being a chicken made him miss out on this. Now, everyone knows that the blood and gore is the best part.
Yep.
No matter what it is the best part. Can you imagine that story of David and Goliath if he didn't get to chop off the head at the end? And some lady just came through like, that's mine. It was me! Whoa, no, it wasn't. I threw the stone. You're like, but I got the head. That's what happened. She-Hulk just popped him on the ground and got out of the way. Now, you may think to yourself, like, you're raiding into it, Caden. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. You wait. Go over to chapter 5. We're going to look at this. Verse 24. The whole of chapter 5 is a song. You go ahead and try to sing it. It don't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't really rhyme. I'm sure it's all very beautiful in the original Hebrew, but I don't know original Hebrew, right? So you go through and you look at this different stuff, but look at verse, 24 of chapter 5. Blessed above women shall Jael, the wife of Heber, the Canaanite, be. Blessed shall she be above women in the tent. He asked water, and she gave him milk. She brought forth butter in a lordly dish. What? I do not know. I've got no deep cultural insight. All I know is that some guy was trying to write a song about it and was just was having too much fun. Expensive. But you imagine going through, singing about, what was her name, Jael? Hey, Jael, she asked for water, brought in milk, served up that butter in a lordly dish. And every time Barak heard this, because there's a little bit about Barak in this song, at the very beginning. They're like, oh, Barak and Deborah, they did all the stuff, and they rescued us. And then that verse about Jael swims around. And Barak has to listen to it every single time. Let's just read it again. It's just beautiful. Blessed above women shall Jael, the wife of Heber the Canaanite, be. Blessed shall she be above women in the tent. He asked water, she gave him milk. She brought forth that butter in a lordly dish. She put her hand to the nail and her right hand to work the man's hammer. And with the hammer she smote Sisera. She smote off his head when he had pierced and stricken through his temples. At her feet he bowed, he fell, he lay down at her feet. He bowed, he fell, where he bowed there, he fell down dead. The mother of Israel looked out a window and cried through the lattice, which is in the chariot, so long in coming, why tarry the wheels of his chariots? She said, oh, why are you coming on foot, dear sir? Yesterday you had 900 chariots. Care for some butter? I don't know what it means, but it happened. And they sang it. All right, again. What is it called? We had a champion. A champion was needed. There was 20 years of slavery. Someone needed to step up. A champion was chicken. I think Barack had a little moment there where Barack's like, again, some people say that they give some sort of noble thing to it, that Barack was not going to go into battle unless he had the person of God beside him. I just can't read it like that. I can't read it like that. And he goes, Deborah, you have a tree. You're really cool. Everyone likes you. You're really good at this battling stuff. Please, I'm not going to this road. I'm not doing it. Fine, I'll come in. But God's going to give it to you could have served up the butter. What does that even mean? Deborah goes, I don't know. It's coming, right? And there they go. So a champion missed his glory. That close. And every time they sing it in the street, they're like, Barack's cool, Deborah's cool, get to the verse about JL. Yeah! And they're all just like, as Americans, we use an excuse like, oh, the JL's verse coming. We get some biscuits. And every time they're bump, 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 bump. Spread the butter with a Lord in it. I love that. And some guy who sells buns on the street is like, this is the best marketing campaign I ever thought of in my entire life. I've been selling more butter than I ever sold in my entire life. Did you even serve butter? No, but I run Butters R Us, and I'm not going to sell butter any other way. That JL song has been killing it. This is great. I don't know what it all was. It's all crazy, and I know that Barack missed out on a bunch of it. Hey, I'm going to find some spiritual truth in this. You just hold on. Hold on. Quit you like men. Start, fight, finish. Hey, here's the problem. You can laugh at Brock all you want, man. I'm not going unless you go. Hey, some of you said that on your way to camp. This one.
Yeah, come on.
Are you going to camp? I don't want to go to camp with you. They're all stupid. Oh yeah, fine. Okay, you go on. Every Sunday morning. It's time to go to church. Mom! I'll feel late with the boys. King Kong's not going to kill himself. Yeah, I play COD myself. Right? Hey. You shoot a quick text message. Hey, hey girl. You going to Sunday school? No, I can't make it. Oh, thank goodness I don't want to go to Sunday school anyways. Because I'm not going to go to Sunday school unless my girlfriend shows up.
Ew.
Hey, you laugh at Barack because he looked at Deborah and said, I'm not going to go battle with you about it. But yet, a lot of you in this room, that's the only reason you do anything for the Lord. If mama didn't make you go to church, you ain't going to church. Quit you like men. Huh? When's the last time you heard of a man being told by his mama it's time to go to church? Hey, the men who have to be told by their mama it's time to go to church are the same men who then their wife have to take their kids to church without them every single Sunday.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got some men that the world would say are real men. Man, they're big, they're strong, they're real Dwayne Barack Johnson types. They got the trucks, they got 900 chariots of iron. And that Barack just inherited just then. I'm sure they're still there because he had nothing to do with them, right? Oh yeah, I'm a manly man. I look cool, I act cool, I talk cool, man. No woman ever gonna boss me around. I'm gonna just not do the things of the Lord all by myself. Oh, real toughie. Yeah. Hey man, we need men.
That's right.
Hey, and I know a lot of men who do a lot of good things. They're faithful. They show up, they do their part, they win the occasional battle, they're a cog in the machine. Hey, but God's calling for champions. Hey, there's no story, there's no What would David have done if he'd have walked in and been like, all right, guys, oh, you're not going to battle? You think that Goliath guy's going to kill you? Well, if you guys aren't going to battle, I'm not going to battle. Hey, are there any cute girls to watch me go to battle? You know, I get real accurate when there's cute girls. Oh, bang, I got to flick of the wrist, I hit the eye contact, like, whoop! What? Hey, man. Hey, you like men. Why does someone have to tell you to do the things you read in this book? Why does someone have to tell you and drag you around to make you do the things of God? Hey, you know what? And you're sitting there thinking, like, what? We just have a lot of, she's saying it's okay, we have a lot of fun. That was the funniest story from the Bible I've ever heard. You made a pact with it, but I didn't mind. It was great. And now you're picking on me. Hey, here's what I'm going to say. A man does not have to be told what's right. He does what's right. A man doesn't have to be convinced to go to battle. A man is looking for battle.
Yeah.
A man does not have to be coerced into standing up for the innocent. He will stand up for the innocent. Hey, the men that you admire the most, they see that a champion needs to arise. Hey, you guys live it every day. How many generations have we had in darkness and wickedness? Some of you come from rough homes I could never imagine. Some of you come from generations of drunkenness and alcohol and abuse and pain. Some of you come from generations of apathy. Some of you are that kid that got drugged to church by your spiritual leader, who was your mother, and had to go home to a father who did not live the principles that you were hearing at that church. Hey, how many more generations have to be in iniquity? How many more generations have to be a slave until someone says, you know what? I'm going to make me like a man. I'm going to start. Hey, that's the first part of that. Hey, I know some of you are like, I don't know how to fight. Brock obviously was an idiot. Hey, we're not asking you to know everything. We're saying it's time to be different. It's time to stand up and decide, you know what? I don't want to just be another guy. I don't want to be just another statistic. I don't want to be just another generational iniquity. I don't want to be just some dude who shows up in church. I want to be a champion. Right. I want to find out exactly what God wants me to do, and I want to do it. And I don't care if I have to do it alone. And I'm missing adults in churches all over America who won't do it alone. If their pastor were to not show up, they wouldn't show up. If their wife didn't tell them it was church time, they'd never go. If they thought their friends would let them get away with it, they wouldn't go. If their kids didn't go to school there, then they wouldn't go. Hey, it's time to start. I will walk this fight alone if I have to. I was going to use this as an illustration. Hey, that's not the only thing you got to do that way. Ministry, life, church, victory in this Christian life, it takes one moment of you falling on your knees and saying, I don't care if I have to do it alone. I will do it. Hey, ladies, it's your turn. Again, I'm trying to be mindful of the time, but my wife, she had some characteristics that I really, really, really admired, right? I loved her to death, okay, even way before she knew that I existed. I'm not joking, bro. Like I said in class, I was like 5'2", she was like 6 foot. I looked at her and was like, I want to climb you like a tree, right? What? She did not think that was funny. That was not a good opening line, right? I'm gonna tell you, right? So I was like, you know what I admired about her? She was faithful. And then more than that, she had a love for her father that I knew someday would transfer to me. Her father said no. She said, okay.
Right.
Her father said yes. She said, okay. Her father said, this is something we're not doing. You know, all right. Her father said, this is something we are doing. She said, okay. And I looked at her and I said, you know, the Bible will tell her if we get married. And this is very lofty goal. If I can somehow trick her into loving me, the Bible will then tell her to submit to me. As I then submit to God. Like I have a lot of power in this thing, right? God tells me what to do. I tell her what God told me to do. She goes, that doesn't make any sense. I said, hey, God, oh, wait, that's God. I can't tell her what? What do you want me to do about it? Right? I'm going to expect her to submit to me. But yet she submits to her father. I just might think that's going to transfer over to me. And then she saw something in me. She saw faithfulness. She saw that I did what I was supposed to do, even when no one else did. I was of a generation where the other 99% beside me ended up in drugs and addiction. They're on their 3rd and 4th marriages. They've destroyed the lives of their children, and they're only in their 20s.
Wow.
Hey, she saw a tendency in me to not just want to be some guy who does what everyone else is doing because it's cool and it's fun, you know, and they do all this work for the camp, and they feed me, and there's fun, and there's snacks and candy. I'll show up as long as the food is good. No, I said, I'm going to do the things of God, and I'm going to do them because I'm supposed to do them. Because God's calling for a champion. I don't know how to fight, but I'm going to start. And I'm going to keep going even when everyone else stops. And guess what? Sometimes, men, they all stop.
Right.
Sometimes you show up to church, and you see none of the faces you grew up with.
Yeah.
Sometimes the men that you trusted in, the men that grew with you, the men that served with you, turn their back the moment they get an inch of freedom. Because the moment no one was making them, they stopped. Because they didn't believe it.
Yeah.
They never started.
Right.
Well, how could they never started? They were doing it. Yeah, it's easy to be pushed by a crowd.
Come on now.
What happens when the crowd starts walking the long way? And you have to fight through your friends to get back on the path.
Good.
Hey, it's coming.
Good. Come on now. Yes. Yes.
It is hard to watch that happen. By the grace of God, I saw a woman across the way. When all her friends left, she stayed. She looked at a midget across the way that didn't leave and stayed.
Yeah.
And in that moment, God said, I'll give you another foot of height. You're welcome. Hey, let me grow. Let me grow together. Hey, but you know what? These things don't end. I told you in the first class, you are raw potential. You are at the beginning of your life. You have a chance to start being a champion for the cause of Christ.
Right, yes.
Before you have the baggage and the mistakes and the pain that you'll have to drag with you the rest of your life.
Amen.
I entered my marriage, and I chose not to fail. I chose to start with the end in mind. I was going into a lifelong commitment with a woman that I thought I knew a lot about, but you're not really anybody until you grow up a little bit. And I said to myself, though, there is nothing she can do that will make me quit on this marriage.
Come on now.
Nothing. Hey, I've got a very vivid imagination. I've seen a lot of hurt. I've had a lot of hurt in the past.
Yeah.
My family's on their second and third marriages. Her family on their second and third marriages. People do horrible things to people that they say they love.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, I will never quit you, no matter what you do to me. I don't care. Not by the grace of God. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. But hey, I tell you what though. Now this is looking in the future. But if you enter your marriage with a till death do us part, except,
Yeah. Come on now.
hey, why would you want to start your marriage with a big target on the wall
Yeah.
that says, all right, Satan, you're not going to take us out unless you hit that?
Yeah. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it's like. You walk into that room, they say, do whatever you want, just don't touch that big red button. Right? And some of you immediately are like, they're like, what are you doing? You're like, nothing. And you're just kind of standing there at the wall, like looking at the button. And they're like, can I trust you? And you're like, yeah. Yeah, could you leave? Oh, please leave! That's how a lot of us deal with Satan.
Yeah.
We go, yeah, I love the things of God. As long as you don't do that, I'm good.
Come on now.
Hey, as long as everyone else is going, I'm in. Hey, as long as you find me the right woman, I'm in. As long as I get married by I'm 19, I'll stay pure. Hey, as long as I can still have the things that I like in this life, I'm good. Hey, as long as I still have my health, I'll serve God. Hey, you give Satan a target, he's a very accurate shot. He will hit it.
Come on now.
Yeah.
And he knows. I don't think he can read your mind or anything, but it's all over your face. You can see it by the way you act, by the way you start. You can see it in those small moments, those little choices that come up, and you say, "Ooh, is anyone?" As long as I'm not doing it alone, I'll do it. As long as my family's still there, I'll go. Hey, you wouldn't want anybody to do that to you. What if your salvation came with a caveat? What if God says, I died for all your sins, except for this little one right here? Don't touch that button and you can enter heaven. See, that happened to two of us in the garden. And they failed miserably.
Yeah.
If God treated your salvation like you treat serving him, none of you would have your salvation right now. But God's more of a man than we are. God looked at us and said, I don't care if none of you accept me. I don't care if I carry this cross for no one. I don't care if every person on this planet rejects me. I will still die because they're worth it.
Amen.
We can't be bothered to get out of bed unless someone tells us that they're going to show up too. Shame on us. Quit you like men. Start. Fight. And by the grace of God, finish this thing.
Yes.
Go to the end. Why you are scared. A lot of you just don't know. A A lot of you have never had a close personal example of what being a man is like. My examples were not great. By the grace of God, I found a pastor who loved me. A pastor who was a good example. But again, you cannot judge your success by your examples. Hey, I'm going to put myself behind this pastor. As long as that pastor never fails, or hurts me, or offends me, or does anything I disagree with, I will serve God. Hey, my pastor does stuff all the time, but like that covenant I made with my wife, I made the same covenant with my new pastor. He's only been my pastor for 5 years. I've been a youth pastor in that same church for 10 years. I outrank him. That's a little joke. Hey, just edit that out, right? I will suffer for that one. Hey, I didn't tell him this to his face because it would have been real dramatic, right? I don't have any lack of that, as I don't have to add extra fire, fuel that fire. But I looked at him and in my mind I said, I don't care what this pastor does, unless he opposes the core fundamental principles of the gospel. And even if he does that, I will do my duty as a member of this church to restore such a one.
Man.
I will not give up on him until God decides to take him home. Then I'm done. I'll move on to the next one. Hey, some of you just need to start. Some of you need to fall on your face and say, I don't care who goes with me. I don't care if I do it alone. I don't have to have a crowd. I don't have to have popularity. I don't have to have my family on board. I don't have to have my friends on board. I need to have God on board. And God was very clear about what his plan was. Start fighting. He needs champions. How many more people need to go to hell? How many more people need to get into addiction? How many more people do you need to see suffer before you decide, I'm the one who's going to do this thing?
Good.
God's on my side. Right from the beginning, Deborah looks at Brock and says, didn't God say to go fight? And didn't God say you were going to win?
Yeah.
What more pieces of this thing do you need, kid?
Good.
There's a fight. You're guaranteed a victory. I would take that bet every time, yet we sit in the pew and we say, I'm not going to be the first one to go down, but I'll be the second.
Go on now.
As long as you go with me, I'll go too. Hey, let's not miss out on this glory thing. Let's not be just part of the crowd. Let's start.
Good.
Stay to your feet, bow your heads, close your eyes. I challenge you to take this time to come forward and fall on your face and start. Make you like men. Start, fight, finish. My journey started on a pew at an altar just like this. Falling before God and saying, hey, I don't care what you do to me. I don't care where I go. I don't care what happens. I don't care what I lose, who I lose, where they go. I will be the one who starts this thing, fights this thing. And by the grace of God, if he sees fit, I will finish this thing. Don't be scared to start, kids. His promises are 100% true. And he's promised you the victory.
The altars are open, teenager. You can turn around and use your seat as an altar. I believe Joshua spoke to every one of us in that message. Every one of us. Who are you waiting for to take the first step before you take a step? Some of you older teenagers, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. Why are you sitting around waiting for somebody else to make the move before you stand up and do what you're supposed to do? How come you only do something for God when there's a crowd doing it? About a year ago, as he was preaching, I thought of this. About a year ago, if you came into teen church on a Sunday morning, the front 2 rows on the guy's side would have contained the oldest young men in teen church. Well, 1 or 2 of them moved to the back. And guess what? Everybody else followed them. You know who sits in the, for the most part, who sits in the front row in teen church now? The new guys that just came up from 5th and 6th grade. I'm not saying that the older guys all backslid and, they're turned away from God, but I watched 1 or 2 change their heart and move toward the back, and a bunch of you followed them. You know why? Because there's times when you're not willing to stand up and quit like a man. See that? You know, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do what God wants me to do, regardless of what anybody else does. There's some young men in here. There was a time when you felt called to preach. There was a time when we couldn't have a teen camp without you coming to me and saying, "But when do I get to preach? When do we get to preach? When do you let the preacher boys preach?" Now we have preacher boy night, and because all your friends aren't preaching, you no longer feel called to preach. Well, maybe that wasn't for me. Maybe not. Not anymore. Young ladies, there's young women in our church looking to you as a leader, looking to you as someone they want to be like. I hope and pray that you'll be one that quits like a man, quits like a woman of God. Says, "No, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish this thing." Some of you have siblings that are looking to you to finish. Would it be great one day, years down the road, as your younger siblings who right now may be at times a little annoying, but when you're an adult and you can look back and you can see your younger siblings now as teenagers serving the Lord, and they look to you and they say, "Thank you for standing for what's right. Thank you for not quitting when your friends quit." And you may just be the one who helps them and encourages them and motivates them to keep going. But if you follow the world and quit before you get there, what's going to happen then? So powerful. Quit you like men. Finish what you start. There was a time, some of you, if I were to ask you, "Hey, how's your relationship with your parents?" "Oh, I love my parents. This was such a wonderful thing. My relationship with them." And how is it now, teenager? How are you going to finish? You gonna do everything you can to keep that relationship the way God wants it? It's a wonderful thing, teenager, when they become not just your parents, but your friends. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time with a lot of people over the years. If I had a choice right now, aside from my wife and my kids, if I got to travel with someone, you know who I want to travel with? I'd go with my dad. Because there came a time when I decided, you know, he's not just my dad, I'm going to become friends with him, I'm going to learn from him, I'm going to talk to him, and I just love sitting down and just talking about nothing. And I want to finish that way. How about you, teenager? That's powerful. Lord, I thank you for, well, first of all, I thank you for Brother Caden. This alley, Lord, that young people who finished, and God today is using them in a great way in the lives of not only young people in Kenai, but really, Lord, young people around the state as they have the opportunity to travel to youth rallies and minister to young people all over the state of Alaska. I appreciate their testimony of finishing, and their commitment to each other, their commitment to their pastor, their commitment to their church, their commitment to you. Lord, I pray there be some young people here that would look at that testimony and say, "I want that." The end game there is what I want. And I'm only going to see that in my life if I finish. If I fight this fight and I finish strong. I pray every one of us will make a decision to keep going. Not to get bitter and angry at somebody, something. Not to follow the crowd and do what's easy, but to stand and do what's difficult. in the end, we'll see the reward. Thank you for tonight. We bless the rest of our activities this evening. We love you, Lord.